Living in her doomsday safe house, the girl thought she heard crying outside. It sounded like her boyfriend, pleading in a near-hoarse voice for her to open the door. The sound, mixed with the patter of rain against the steel entrance, seeped damply into her ears, heartbreaking and trembling. But it was just another hallucination. She had lost count of how many times this had happened. Fortunately, Lucky was always there to snap her out of it. Footage from the hummingbird drone showed the purple-eyed creature standing atop a hill, holding some kind of signal-amplifying device as it murmured toward the forest below. So that was how it had controlled thousands of infected beings to launch the assault on the northern suburbs. Suddenly, an invisible force seized her consciousness again, like a cold hand gripping her mind. The scene before her began to warp and melt. The cold steel door of the safe house seemed to transform into the familiar wooden door of her old apartment. The doorknob was trembling slightly. Outside, her boyfriend's voice teased playfully, asking to come in one last time to hold her. Her body moved against her will. Her legs felt heavy as lead, yet they were drawn step by step toward the deadly door. Her fingertip was just an inch from the cold unlock button. Then, a deafening roar, like the bellow of an ancient beast, exploded in her mind. The hallucination shattered. The powerful force pulling at her will was severed. The cold steel door stood clearly before her once more. She jerked her hand back, and then she realized, it was an earthquake. Fine dust drifted from the ceiling. The LED lights swayed overhead. She rushed to the monitoring room, her heart pounding. On the screen, a torrent of mud and rocks was surging down from the hills, crashing violently against the mound where her safe house stood. The lights flickered, then the monitors went black. Instinctively, she grabbed Lucky, whose fur was standing on end, and hid under a table, eyes tightly shut. She didn't know how long it lasted, but eventually, the tremors subsided. In the weak beam of her flashlight, a deathly silence enveloped everything. She was buried alive. Fortunately, the main structure of the safe house remained intact, but the only exit, along with all external pipes, was tightly sealed beneath thick mud and debris, and that suffocating mental control had vanished completely. It seemed the purple-eyed creature, too, had been buried by the raw force of nature. A strange, warm relief washed over her, the relief of having narrowly survived. She let out a long, deep breath. Though buried, she had gained something she never had before, absolute safety. Her nerves, strained to the breaking point, finally relaxed. And then, a delayed but overwhelming hunger swept through her. She opened the fridge and took out the last pack of ribs she had stored before the apocalypse. The cold ribs slowly thawed in clear water, strands of blood seeping out. She blanched them, skimming off the foam. The girl had a trick. To make the broth turn milky white, first pan-sear the ribs lightly with a little oil. When boiling water was poured along the edge of the pot, a creamy broth began to form. She sliced a few pieces of her precious ginger and tossed in a small handful of dried Sichuan peppercorns. Soon, the kitchen was filled with the soothing, savory aroma of simmering meat, a scent that dispelled the last traces of tension lingering in the safe house. One more thing, always add salt just before serving. Outside, the world was buried under mud and rock. The rain still fell tirelessly against the earth, but now, its drumming against the thick layer of soil and stone covering the safe house sounded muffled and distant, like listening through an immensely thick quilt. The primal white noise of nature had become a natural, impenetrable barrier. She ladled a small bowl of rib soup, blew on it to cool it, and took a careful sip. The hot, rich broth slid down her throat, chasing away the last chill. She picked out a small piece of rib, blew on it, and placed it in Lucky's special dish. The cat immediately buried its face, lapping quickly with little satisfied smacks. Holding the warm bowl, the girl felt an almost sacred sense of peace. Her fortress had never been more secure. Gently embraced and deeply hidden by the earth, it was sheltered from prying eyes, hypnotic voices, and bloodstained claws, along with parts of her own past, now buried forever by the mudslide. Here, within this small space filled with the aroma of stewed meat, accompanied by the rhythm of rain and the soft purring of her cat, she reclaimed the tangible reality of being alive. Tonight, the safe house was no longer an isolated island. It was a seed buried in the earth, resting in silence and warmth, waiting for a spring that belonged to her alone.